It's been over 13 years since the world said goodbye to Robin Gibb, one of the legendary voices behind the Bee Gees. Even now, his hauntingly beautiful voice and soulful vibrato still echo through time, from Massachusetts to How Deep Is Your Love, from I Started a Joke Tonight's on Broadway. But behind the glowing stage lights and soaring harmonies was a man whose life was filled with both brilliance and turmoil, secrets that his family kept hidden for years, and stories that never reached the spotlight until now. Robin Hugh Gibb was born on December 22, 1949, in the seaside town of Douglas on the Isle of Man, to parents Hugh and Barbara Gibb. He was one of a set of twins, his brother Maurice arriving just 35 minutes later. From the very beginning, the Gibb household was filled with music. Their father, Hugh, was a drummer and bandleader. Their mother, Barbara, loved to sing. The Gibb children were raised on melodies, rhythm, and the simple joy of performing together. When the family moved first to Manchester, England, and later emigrated to Redcliffe, Australia, Robin, Maurice, and their older brother Barry found themselves constantly creating songs and harmonies. They were just boys, barely teenagers, but their voices blended in a way that stopped people in their tracks. Performing under the name the Rattlesnakes before adopting the now immortal title the Bee Gees, the brothers sang at small events, cinemas, and local fairs. What began as childlike fun soon evolved into something extraordinary, a sound that would define a generation. By the late 1960s, the Bee Gees were international stars. Their harmonies, tight, emotional, and instantly recognizable, earned them comparisons to the Beatles. But while the fame was dazzling, it came at a cost. Robin, sensitive and introspective, was often at odds with Barry, whose natural charisma and leadership guided the group. At just 19, Robin was thrust into a world of fame, pressure, and endless touring. He began to feel overshadowed, and the weight of constant comparisons drove him into periods of depression and creative frustration. The family later said that even in those early days, Robin struggled with the idea of success. He loved music, but hated the machinery of fame, the interviews, the control, the expectations. He was a dreamer, his wife Dwina would later say. He wanted the songs to matter, not the headlines, but the headlines came anyway. Robin's personal life was often as turbulent as his career. He married Molly Hullis, a secretary at the Beatles management company, in 1968. They had 2 children together, Spencer and Melissa, and for a while life seemed blissful. Yet fame and constant travel took their toll. Robin's mental health began to fray, and reports surfaced that he struggled with anxiety and insomnia. By the mid-1970s, his marriage to Molly had fallen apart. Then tragedy struck again in a way no one could have predicted. In 1967, the Bee Gees tour bus was involved in a horrific train crash near Hither Green in South London. Dozens were killed. Though the brothers survived physically, the trauma left a deep scar on Robin's mind. He would later confess that the experience changed him. He began to fear death, fate, and the fragility of everything he loved. After his divorce, Robin eventually found love again in the most unexpected way. In 1985, Robin married Dwina Murphy Gibb, an Irish artist, writer, and druid priestess. Their home in Thame, Oxfordshire, a centuries-old mansion called the Prebendal, became a sanctuary of art, music, and eccentricity. Together they had one son, Robin John, known simply as RJ. But life with Dwina was unconventional. The couple practiced what they described as an open relationship, something they rarely discussed publicly. It was during this period that Robin's long-term affair with his former housekeeper Claire Young became public. The relationship led to the birth of a daughter, Snow Evelyn Robin Juliet Gibb, in 2008. Dwina's response surprised many. Rather than anger, she chose acceptance. "I knew about Snow," she once said. "Robin loved his children, and that love was all that mattered." The press, however, had a field day. Rumors of scandal and infidelity dominated headlines. But inside the family, the reality was more complex. A man torn between love, guilt, and an endless search for peace. Behind the dazzling performances and platinum records, Robin's personal demons deepened, that he suffered bouts of alcohol and drug dependency, battled depression, and became known among friends for his unpredictable mood swings. Some described him as mercurial, deeply kind one day, distant and irritable the next. His brother Barry tried to keep the group together through the highs and lows, but creative and personal conflicts often tore them apart. In one interview, Barry admitted, "We loved each other deeply, but there were times when we couldn't even be in the same room." In the 1980s, Robin's name appeared in bizarre headlines again, this time connected to an FBI investigation that a mysterious telegram sent his record company, signed Love, Robin, read, "I have taken out a contract on my wife." The shocking message led to rumors that Robin had been threatening Molly during their bitter divorce. Robin later dismissed the claim as nonsense, a prank or miscommunication, he said, but the damage to his reputation was done. The incident became one of the strangest and darkest footnotes in pop music history. Through the years, no matter the conflicts or separations, Robin always returned to music and to his brothers. The Bee Gees reunited multiple times, and their songwriting prowess soared to legendary heights. Together, they produced hits for Barbra Streisand, Diana Ross, and Kenny Rogers, and their own albums continued to break records worldwide. But fate had more tragedy in store. In 2003, Maurice Gibb, Robin's twin, died suddenly after complications from intestinal surgery. For Robin, it was as though half his soul had been torn away. He withdrew from public life for months, struggling to comprehend the loss. He felt the world had lost its balance, Barry said. Maurice was his anchor. In the years that followed, Robin continued to record and perform, but something inside him had changed. He grew more introspective, more philosophical. He spoke often about life after death, reincarnation, and spiritual energy, beliefs that mirrored Dwina's Druidic faith. It was as if he were preparing for something beyond this world. In 2011, Robin began working on what would become his most personal and haunting project, the Titanic Requiem, a classical composition created with his son RJ to mark the 100th anniversary of the Titanic sinking. It was a labor of love and also a farewell letter in disguise. Robin poured his remaining strength into the project, even as he secretly battled a growing illness. Doctors had discovered cancer in his colon and liver, but he refused to give in. "Music is keeping me alive," he told friends. When the Titanic Requiem premiered at Westminster Central Hall in April 2012, Robin was too ill to attend. He was in the hospital, gaunt and fragile, yet still hopeful he would recover. Dwina later revealed that even in those moments, he asked for updates on the performance, desperate to know how it sounded, whether the audience felt what he had felt while writing it. Then something miraculous happened. In late April 2012, as Robin lay in a coma, doctors warned his family that the end was near. His loved ones, Dwina, RJ, and Snow, gathered around his bedside, playing his favorite songs, hoping he could hear them. And then he woke up. The room fell silent as Robin opened his eyes and whispered faintly, "Where am I?" For a brief moment, the impossible had happened. The world's press called it a miracle. Fans around the globe celebrated that Robin's family dared to believe he might recover. But it was not to be. The comeback lasted only days. His body, weakened by months of treatment, began to fail again. On May 20th, 2012, Robin Gibb passed away, peacefully at home in Oxfordshire, surrounded by family, music, and love. He was 62. After Robin's death, the family's silence broke. For the first time, Dwina and RJ spoke openly about the truth behind the rumors, the affairs, the open marriage, and the struggles Robin faced privately. RJ described his father as a genius who carried a storm inside him. Dwina, ever spiritual, said she believed Robin was still around them, that his energy lived on through the songs and through their son. But the years following his death were not peaceful. Tensions arose between family members over Robin's estate and how his legacy should be managed. Barry, the last surviving Gibb brother, became the keeper of the Bee Gees' name, while Dwina and RJ guarded Robin's personal archives. Despite these disputes, both sides agreed on one thing: the music must never die. Today, Robin Gibb's songs continue to move millions, from disco anthems to heartfelt ballads. His voice remains one of pop music's most recognizable sounds. Even his solo work, songs like Juliet and Saved by the Bell, reveal a poet's heart and a fragile soul searching for meaning. Behind the scandals, the fame, and the heartbreak, Robin's true story is one of resilience and redemption. He faced depression, battled addiction, survived loss, and found his way back to love again and again. His life reminds us that even the brightest stars are human, fragile, flawed, and searching for peace. Duina once said that Robin believed this life was only a step in a much larger journey. Maybe that's why his music still feels so alive, as though he's still singing somewhere beyond the veil, harmonizing with Maurice in some distant echo of eternity. Robin Gibb was more than a BG, that he was a dreamer, a writer, a father, a man who turned pain into melody. For every headline about scandal or sorrow, there's a song that tells a deeper truth, a truth about love, loss, and the eternal bond of family. As R.J. Gibb said, "My dad never stopped believing that music could heal the soul. That's how I remember him. Not as a superstar, but as a man who kept singing even when the world went quiet." And in that sense, Robin never really left us. His songs still play, his voice still trembles through the speakers, and the world, for just a moment, remembers what it means to feel something real.